thank you very much for coming along to the Google Workspace updates for May 2022. As always, I look back on all the updates announced last month, so you've got the full picture in a single place. Thanks very much for coming along. We'll go through them. Do post any questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll deal with those at the end. Thank you very much. So here we go. These are great. I think I've said, certainly for the last 3 or 4 updates that we've done, that Google seems to be looking at kind of efficiency as a key focus of lots of the things that they do. And lots of the tools that are being added in precisely for that reason. I think this is one of those things. A really neat little option to build little drop-down lists within Google using the smart chips. So you use the @ symbol and start to type the word drop-down, and the drop-down option will appear. And then you can edit them and adjust them to what the particular drop-down lists you are needed, which is really, really good. And it just seems a really nice little additional thing. If you've got a project that's been managed through a Google Doc, to be able to, people to change the status of a particular task within that document, seems to me a really useful additional tool. They've also built it into tables if you want to build them into tables, and there are now table templates are starting to appear. So you've got those same drop downs. And again, you can edit them if they don't quite say the things that you want to say. So you've got this tool to do that. And the use case in the little GIF that's showing on the screen now, I think is great, that you put the documents that you're referring to within the project in one list in one column in the table that people can get access to, and the status of that document on the right. So if you've got a multi-document project, a large project where you've got lots of different things that people need to work on, you can put a link to the document in the table and a drop down that gives you an update on its status. That seems to be a really good kind of use of those tools in combination, which is really nice. So I think that there's going to be more and more of those, and there's a few of those today as well. So very recently, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, they added these Google shortcuts, so you could actually join a Google Meet in more than one way, and it would automatically adjust the audio and video and microphone settings for the second join on the second device, so that you didn't get feedback and so on and so forth. And it used to be that you could either just join to watch, or you could just join to present, but now you can actually specify that you want to include your video feed in that. So it's just the functionality was already there. They've just fine-tuned it by adding an additional functionality, which means you can actually join with your video feed on. And it's just, so you're probably already familiar with it, but it's just a little bit of an additional functionality to that particular feed that's already there. And I've just put, in case you've forgotten them, I've put the 2 shortcuts that Google have created: g.co/companion if you want to just join with an additional machine, and g.co/present if you actually want to join and present from that second machine. It kind of just gives you a shortcut. And the picture doesn't show that, but if you do it on your own account, if you've got that calendar item in your account, which of course you will have while you're joining it otherwise, then you can actually click on the event. It'll ask you to which event you want to join as a companion or present. So it's just a nice additional kind of, saves you time, just that shorter, more efficient way to get into that meeting in the version that you want, either companion or present, which is great. So in Google Tasks, you've now got a bit more functionality. Again, it's more about efficiency, that you can actually set it to be a repeating task, and you can specify when it finishes now as well. So it allows you to do that. So if you are a task user, and you get tasks down the right-hand side of your Gmail and the right-hand side of your calendar, so you can go to it in more than one place. And of course, it's the same list as you'd expect it to be. And so that's really quite handy to be able to do that. I use Keep, which again is on that same little side panel quite a lot, but generally I haven't used Tasks particularly. But if you do, I think it just gives you a little bit more granular control about the tasks you post in there, because previously you had to tick to say they were done and then they'd stop appearing, whereas now you can specify when they stop appearing, so that you can got a bit more control, which is great. Okay, so in Google Spaces, that's like the group chat options within Google Chat. You can now, if you're the space manager, I do love that the person in charge of the space is actually got a space manager. So I'm a space manager, which is why Woody's there, not Woody, got his name. To Infinity and Beyond is there. But you've got the option to delete stuff. So if stuff appears that is inappropriate, or people are getting out of sorts with the chats that they're making, or you just think it's no longer relevant, or for whatever reason, you've got the option to delete chat from people who are putting things in that are inappropriate or just don't need to be there or whatever. Oh, excuse me, which I think is really useful. It hasn't been there until recently. That should be there by now because it was early in May that it was announced that would be there. This is also quite nice. I've probably said this before, but I will repeat it. Generally speaking, Google refer to products as new if the functionality still isn't fully all there. So you'll notice this is still new Google Sites, because I'm hoping that there's more functionality to come. And the piece of functionality they've just added in, that if you've already got a custom theme that you built on another site, then you can import it to a new site, so you've got the same corporate look and feel, so in terms of colorway and images and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of quite nice. You haven't got to build that kind of theme each and every time. You can import it from an existing site, and it works exactly the same way as it does with templates in slides. So when you import a template, it doesn't import the whole slide deck, it just imports the template settings from within the slide deck you've chosen. This does the same. It imports the background theme to all the pages rather than importing any of the actual site itself. It's just the theme that you built in that site. So just so that if you're not familiar with it, what we did for C-Learning for our corporate slides for this slide deck, for example, is I built a slide deck. I went into the edit the slide deck and how it looked in each of the slides in the slide master bit, set the settings for all the different slide styles that we've got, and said that's now, and I call that C-Learning slide deck C-Learning theme. And then every time we import it, it imports that same set of themed slides into the slide deck. So it means that all our slide decks look the same. This will work exactly the same. But once you've set that Google site as this is what the theme looks like, then when you import it, it will import that theme to each of the new sites that you apply it to. So it's an efficiency thing. It's a great additional piece of efficiency for Google Sites. Big thing I'm waiting for in Google Sites is page level permissions, because that was a real boon that I used to use a lot when I was teaching. So I'm looking forward to that arriving one day, but that's not here yet. So that's themes in Google Sites, which is great. So the search tools in Google Drive are great. Generally, they do an excellent job. It's rare that you can't find things. Missing from it was the option to find all those things related to Google Meet. And you can now do that. And if you look at the little image there at the top in the search bar, you write app. So you say, I'm looking for a particular app, colon, then in speech marks, you put the whole phrase Google Meet, and it will find everything. If you'd done a search for Google Meet, it would have found your videos and probably your text of the chat that was in there, because those have got the word meet in the title of the document, but it might not necessarily have found everything. But this time, by going app colon Google Meet, it'll find the folders, videos, attendance, Q&A poll responses, and so on and so forth. So any document that relates to a Google Meet, that will then appear in the list, so you can actually find the things you want with a little bit more ease, rather than thinking, oh, what was it called? What was the meeting called? Or scrolling back through your calendar. So that's really nice. And whilst I'm on this, the other one that is there, but sometimes people miss, is searching for your Google Jams. And when you do the search and you click on the filter for the advanced filter, you've got lots of options: docs, sheets, slides, drives, folders, videos, and so on and so forth. But Jamboards don't appear, but you can still find it, and you just go type colon and then put jam, which is the type of file it is, and that will find all your Google Jams. So it was where someone a couple of weeks ago mentioned that they couldn't find their jams, and it's there, it's just not in the drop down lists when you do the advanced search. So back to this one, just to remind you, it's about finding all the files, whatever they are, related to Google Meet, and it's app colon, and then in speech marks, Google Meet. There's two separate words inside the speech marks, and that should find all the documents for all your meets that you've got access to. Excellent. Okay, this is really quite nice, actually. If you're moving around a lot, I'm thinking about particularly maybe you, Jason, so that people know what site you're on. If you're moving around from site to site, and they've got access to your calendar and see where you are, if they've got access to your calendar, they can see all the things that are going on and where you're doing your training and what training you're doing. But if you look at this little screenshot, you can see at the top of the screenshot, I've indicated where I am mostly on that day. So not only, so I don't have to click into every single individual calendar item to know where you are. I've got this little icon at the top that tells you where you are. And you can just literally click on that little icon and you can change that and tell people where you are for most of the day. So next Monday, I'm in Victoria at a conference. So it's just really handy little additional tool to let people know generally where you are. You can't change it throughout the day. It's a single one that appears for the day. So if you are moving around, it's not necessarily useful. But if you're mostly in one place, then I think that could be really useful. And it's just a quick, easy access without them to click on any of the meets and any of the calendar items in your calendar. So that's really nice. And I've added mine in now, so my team can see where I am on a day-by-day basis, which is good. Okay. So this is also, I quite like this one. When I first saw this, I thought, oh yeah, I didn't know, because generally I've used stream announcements to share files, share a link to somewhere, actually and I never generally put a huge, when I've done a demonstration, never put lots of images in. And then as I was playing around with it in preparation for this thing, oh, this is actually quite nice. It just makes the stream look a little bit better, so that when you do add an image, you can actually set it as the image to display across the top of that particular announcement in the chat stream. So it just makes the chat stream look that little bit nicer, and of course makes your announcements stand out. And don't forget, as a teacher in a classroom, you can do an announcement and then you can force that announcement to appear at the top, so it will make sure it appears at the top. I mean, it's set to appear the most recent first, but if it's disappeared down the list because there's been other announcements from students and so on and so forth, you can force that to appear at the top by in the 3 dots by saying push to the top and things. So your nice announcement with your nice image will appear at the top and make sure that your learners see it that much sooner, which is really great. So I quite like, at first I say I was a bit ambivalent because I don't tend to put images when I'm doing my demonstrations. I tend to link files, but as I thought about it, I thought, no, that's really nice. It's good to make things look that bit nicer because they stand out. So that's a great little additional tool in the stream, the chat stream inside Google Classroom. So about 2 or 3 months ago, Google introduced the redesigned appointments for Google Calendar, which is great. But they've now added in that you can require them to have email verification so that you know it's a legitimate person, so it's not just someone spamming. And you can see in the image there where it says booking form towards the bottom, it asks their first name, last name, and asks for their email address, and you can set it as a compulsory field. And you have to go in and make that the case. If they're a Google account, then it will automatically populate, or it will recognize them. If it's not a Google account, then you can force them to do it by getting a PIN number that they then have to type in to verify it's them. So it does it for all accounts. So that's really nice that you've got that additional security feature to make sure that you get proper requests for appointments. And if you weren't there, or you aren't aware of the updates about the scheduling of appointments in Google Calendar, what you can do is you can specify blocks of time. So if you know you want to give time to your team at the college or school to be able to make appointments with you, but you've got other commitments, you can just say, well, it's that block of time on a Monday, that block of time on a Thursday, and then you can publish that calendar, and they will only see the gaps that you've allocated them in, how large or smaller time chunks as you want, and all the rest will remain unavailable for them. So you can be quite specific about where you give them access to book time with you, because those are the times that you want to give them access to do that, and the rest gets protected because you've not shared it. So it's a great additional tool. It's a really good redesign. The other one was just a bit clunky because it was in long need of update. So it's a great one to look at. So I'm thinking, Jason, particularly if you're encouraging people to come to you, do some coaching with you and find a time to chat. Now you've got your new coaching qualification, which is great. Congratulations, by the way. Then to give them the scope to book their time, and you to know that that's been done is really useful. So you've got a lot of control there. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that if you haven't already. So previous deadline for classic sites, the old version of Google Sites, was 1st of June. They've extended that now. So you've got to the 1st of December this year to get all the sites from the old version of Google Sites updated to the new version of classic sites. And beyond that date, things will start to change and you will find that you won't have access to anything. Okay. And then early in January, so only a month after that first one, so on the December the 1st, you can't edit it anymore. in classic sites. And then from the 1st of January, you won't actually be able to see them. So if people have got some old sites that they are still using rather, or they still need access to, they need to convert them to new sites now. When Chris shares this out, you'll see the classic sites manager link on that slide, so you can go there and it's a really simple job to convert them. You can literally do them all at once if you want to. Just tick them all. There's an option to tick all your sites and just convert them, and then you get an email. You have to get an email for each site, so you get a lot of emails in your inbox, which is a nuisance, but it's just saying the same thing. It's saying that it's been converted to new sites so that you're not going to lose any of the materials that are in there. And if you can't decide whether to do it, I would encourage you to go and do it now, just so that you don't suddenly remember, oh no, I did need that. So pushing your staff to do these things now so that they've got all the resources that they need. Think about all the time they spend creating these sites and resources for their learners. It's silly for them, just for the sake of literally a few clicks, not to get on and get it done now. So I would encourage you to push hard to make sure they don't miss that deadline. They've got plenty of time, but they just need to make sure they do it before January 2023, so they don't lose anything that they suddenly remember they do need later. It's a very quick process. So that's classic sites. I might have demonstrated to you the use of the @meet inside Google Chat. You basically got @meet, and then you can say to it, you can type into the chat stream there, make an appointment between me and Stephen Hope, and it'll look at my calendar, look at Stephen's calendar, it'll make some suggestions about the best time, and we can say and it'll number them. So these are the 4 best times, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you got @meet1, and it'll make an appointment for that time for me and Stephen. So it just allows you to automate that meet process. There are many more kind of ops, they call DevOps, these that are coming to Google Chat. PagerDuty, I'm presuming, is about information that would have come from an old-fashioned pager to tell you those things. There's kind of help desk tools that allow you to do that. So if you use help desk, if Zendesk, that's the one I'm looking for. So Zendesk is one of them. So if your IT support team use that, then they can actually, inside the Google Chat, they can say that, yes, that one's been resolved. They can acknowledge that they've received it, and so on and so forth. So it just allows them to control that particular app without leaving the Google Chat if they're in there already communicating with the person that has raised the ticket, for example, or arranging a meet. So more of those will appear. And it is an admin task, in as much as they've got to allow the apps to be installed for you to be able to use them. If they're not been allowed, then you can't do it, of course. So this will appear tomorrow as well in the Techie Tuesday update. But you need to be aware that once they're there, then you can actually use them. And @meet is a great one. We use it reasonably frequently because you're in chat talking. Think, well, actually, I'm trying to arrange a date with them. Let's just use this @meet tool inside the chat rather than going to my calendar, typing their emails in, typing a title in, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a easier, quicker way to do it. Just, again, another of those efficiency tools from Google to allow you to work more efficiently and get back to the tasks that you were previously doing. So that's really good. So just look out for those, and I'd have a go at @meet with a colleague. It's really easy to use, and it's just very convenient because it searches both calendars and finds suggestions. That's why it's a time saver. So it's a great thing to look at. So that's more DevOps into Google Chat. Google Chat, you're going to start to get malicious links banners. You can see what they're going to look like and when they pop up. Generally, I don't think I've ever had a suspicious message flag up like this at all in all my time of using Google Chat, and that might be an indication of how secure it is, and that's great, and it's good to know that that's the case. But just in case you do get those, you'll get a message now saying this looks suspicious, so you've got just alerts you to the fact you need to be cautious. So it's that lovely Nigerian prince offering you $1 million if you send them 10,000. I'm still waiting for my million, of course, but he'll arrive soon. Then you just need to be aware that it will flag those. So it's in effect like a spam notice, isn't it, or a phishing notice that you're getting, so you know to be cautious, which is great. But and like I say, I think perhaps because we benefit from the security levels that come, and it's already set up securely by Cisco and James and the IT team, that we've not ever had one of those. But just to be aware, you will get them flagged. if they do appear and Google is suspicious of them. So in the three dots inside Google Chat now, you've got the option to add a message from someone into your tasks. So if you're using tasks, you saw another notification about tasks earlier, as your method of keeping track of all the things that you need to do, you can add a conversation within a chat direct into your tasks. So it's that move from Google, a really big push to build in more and more efficiencies and fewer clicks to get to the little tasks that you need to do. So that little workflow of, well, that's something that George has asked me to do. So if I just look three dots and add it straight to my tasks, so it's in there, if that's the tool that you use to keep track of the tasks that you need to do. So another nice little efficiency, which is great. Okay, this is the option to embed content, and you can see again in the little GIF that how it looks once it's embedded. So there was always like a gaps at the side when you went to embed stuff into Google sites, so you never got the full page look quite, whereas now you can. It's an additional option when you add a page into the site, you can actually specify that it's going to appear as a full page rather than just the kind of the box image that you were set before. You can see that there's a third option, which is great. So it'd be nice to fill the space rather than, particularly things like maps and things and documents and slide decks. You might want to make them full screen so they're easier to read and more accessible and things. So these are good things. So it's just fractional improvements again. So that's the full page in Google Sites. So this is I'm a great fan of different headings. I use headings a lot in Google Docs. So mostly it's normal text, of course, and where it says normal text on this little GIF, there's a drop down there. We can go to heading 1, heading 2, and so on and so forth. And in the past, you need to have to set the heading level to each piece of text individually, or set it to the first one and then use the format painter. But the format painter would paste the shape, the size, and any bold or color of text, but it wouldn't change it to heading 1 or heading 2 or heading 3. So I'm hoping that I haven't tried this one yet, actually, that will do that will set it as the same heading if I've set that. But it allows you to do it to multiple pieces of text at once. So you use the control key to select both, and then you choose the whatever text enhancement you want to add to it, whether it's bold or underlined or whatever. So I'm hoping that will also work with the heading styles, because that will save me a great deal of time. Because if I've got a large document with lots of headings, then it does take me a little while to get all those set in place so that it behaves properly. And of course, don't forget that if you do it for things like headings, even if just bolding it, that will add it to the menu that appears on the left-hand side of it. It's collapsed out of the way here, so you can't see it, but it will appear in the table of contents on the left. The document outline is what Google called it. So you'll be able to find it in the clickable links that allow you to navigate through the document. So it's definitely worth thinking about doing it if it's a tool that you don't currently use to set headings appropriately and things. So that's in Google Docs. So cut, copy and paste files using keyboard shortcuts. So if you're organizing things on the web version of Google Drive, you can actually copy a document, go to a folder, and then paste it in, and it'll remember it. That's really rather neat, rather than the current system, which is right click, move to, or drag it into a folder or whatever it happens to be. So it allows you to move it, and you can copy and paste that same link into a Google Doc if you want, and it will just automatically add it in as a smart chip. So you can see that in the example that's one of the things that they do once they've copied it, they copy the link into a Google document rather than into another folder somewhere else. So there we go. There it's doing it now. You see, it's just created a smart chip. Yeah. And don't forget that once you've used those links in there, you can actually view the document inside the document. You don't have to open it as a separate link necessarily anymore. You've got the option to view as a little kind of document viewer within it. Same with videos. If you put links in Google Docs using the same thing, Control-C, Control-V, you can actually also view those inside the Google Doc. You don't have to open it as a separate YouTube link or anything like that. So it's just another little efficiency built into moving stuff from Google Drive into other documents or other places within your Google Drive. So it might be that James might want to add a little bit to this, because this is one of those examples where I understand it in principle how this might work, but I don't really understand the full details of encryption and how it might work. But I think I've got it covered. So if you've got encryption in a document already in place, and for some reason you need to copy that document, then the encryption will copy into the document that you copy as well. So if you've got a client, the client side basically means it's at your end, it's encrypted at your end to keep it even more secure. Yeah, if you do need to take a copy, so you've got a project template that's already encrypted, for example, and that's the one you use to start each and every subsequent project. When you make a copy, the level of encryption is retained in the copy that you make for your next project document, whatever it happens to be. So it just gives you an extra level of security. When you're copying encrypted documents, it keeps everything. But it is worth just pointing out that it's for Education Standard and Education Plus only. So those are two of the three paid and possible subscriptions to Google Workspace. So it's not available in Google Fundamentals or in the Teaching and Learning upgrade, only in Education Plus and Education Standard. And of course, only for those people who've got one of those licenses assigned to their accounts. So if people haven't got those licenses assigned to their accounts, then that option won't be available. And there we go. Those are all the updates for May. Any questions? I'm just going to come to the chat, see if there's any questions from anyone. That's a really good question, Dave. I don't know whether the app searches for other work tools or not. I suspect it probably does. I haven't tried it. You'll have to give it a quick go.
Yeah, I did a quick Google. It seems to work for Google App Script and Google Jamboard.
Excellent.
So that's the ones.
Yeah,
so far, we'll keep trying through this.
I mean, I often demonstrate the documents you get after a recorded Google Meet, and to be able to go to Google Drive and just search for them now is really handy to be able to do that. So I think it's a great additional tool, and it makes it easy to find them. Of course, that's what all this is about, is finding things easily. So yeah, thanks for that, Dave. Okay, yeah, I don't know what Polly does, Steve. Not one that I've used. What does Polly do?
It's for polls. So in chat, if you add Polly, you can ask the team or ask students or ask a body of staff questions, and it collates all of those.
Oh, excellent. Fantastic. That's really good. I'll have a go at that. Smart Canvas into Gmail and other apps like those currently within the documents sheets using the @ is yeah, I agree. @ is fantastic. Tell them, Andy. Yeah, share your thoughts. That's the key thing. I haven't been told recently, but certainly a few years ago, they were often telling us that education generally, if you ask them and you can pin a teacher down, they will tell you what else they want. But we tend not to tell them what we want. We just tell them when things are broken. So to be able, get on that question mark or in the help menu and give feedback, say, look, these are great things. Can we please have these? And if you're the only person, then it probably won't happen. But if you're one of hundreds, then it probably will.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they announced that in terms of how Smart Canvas was going to be used, it was like a major thing. But
yeah.
I was really hopeful of some follow-up links with it, particularly in Gmail. Where you're trying to construct something as a communication tool with people, to put in those links. It's a great way of collaborating in documents without laboriously copying, link shortcuts in and things.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes your whole document look a lot better and more professional as well, with the sort of embedded chips in it of that Smart Canvas. And there's quite a lot of list of features in there if you're in a doc and you just the app key, you have a look through them. It really does take out a lot of time. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Yeah, there's loads of things. There's a calendar in there and all the docs and things. Yeah, and YouTube. Yeah, it's really, I think it's a really neat thing. Yeah, and you've sort of got the smart chips in Google Mail but they've built them as search chips. So if you do a search, you then get the suggested things. So like you put in, I put in Andy East Crab, it suggests your email, but then below it says has attachment, and then it filters to what type of attachment. So you sort of got, but actually building them into the actual email body might also be quite nice, mightn't it? Because it gives you a bit more scope to be a bit more efficient in the way that you build things in and things. That'd be good.
Yeah, I think it's just once you get used to using one command in something, and then you go over to like Gmail and try and put an app key in, and not what happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's you can do that and insert links from Drive or attachments. It's just a bit funky. I just wish you'd scale that through. I'll certainly go on and, like you say, if there are some threads already there that you can upvote, and then the more the merrier, you know, then the can't comes through.
Yeah, but the feedback option, I think, is one we should. I mean, I'm forever feeding stuff back about things that are that either are broken or not broken, but also things that I like.
Yeah.
Page level permissions, I regularly post that. I think, you know, and there's no harm in doing it multiple times in people's sites, because that was really useful for me when I was still a teacher. I used to
good reminder to upvote and push for it.
Excellent. Good. Okie dokie. Lovely. So those are all the updates. Any other questions? Any other comments from anyone on the call? Any thoughts about anything that's particularly exciting? I know Jamie's been using the drop-down options, which I think are great. He was telling me about them. They were that last time, weren't they, Jamie?
Yeah, I think there's some cool new features. That's just one that I thought was really cool. I can imagine from an educator point of view, that's something that I think I can see that being used quite a lot. But I think there's lots of new features are pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
But I think as you point out, Paul, you're very good at focusing on the things that are going to be the most used for educators and for users, because Google released so many updates, and not all of them are necessarily relevant to most people, to most users. Some of them tend to be just for very specific uses. But I think these sessions are always useful just to focus on the things that are going to have the most impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think the drop downs and the little little GIF video that they supplied about drop downs in a table to manage a project, whether that's a student doing coursework or, you know, a major project within the college across multiple departments, you know, at whatever level, to be able to track within that document is a really neat little tool.
Yeah.
And I'd be using it with my students for coursework and things, you know, lots, because of course you keep adding extra levels into the table. So if you do feedback to your students, say, I think you need A, B, and C, add them in as tasks into a table at the top, and the student can then do a drop down to say, yep, I've done that. What we then need, of course, we need notifications saying, well, that task's changed, that task status has changed. So it'll be interesting to see if that appears later. But yeah, no, I think it's a great additional tool. And the fact that they're already built tables, because you've now got, when you insert a table, you'll see there'll be a template link. So you can choose a ready built table, and it might well suit your needs, which is great.
So basically, we want to embed Google Sheets into Google Docs.
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? If we could do functions and things.
Yeah, conditional formatting and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's kind of heading down that road, isn't it?
It's like we're all agreeing what's the next request campaign, aren't we?
Yeah.
Better smart chips in Gmail, sheets inside tables. Didn't you used to be able to put a formula in? Isn't there a keyboard shortcut? Oh,
Don't remember when in tables.
Oh, maybe there isn't. Maybe I'm getting very old and forgetful, and maybe it's from a long time ago. Maybe it was something that was in Word. Am I allowed to say that? Anyway, yeah, I can't think of what the keyboard shortcut would be, but yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that I think it would be great to be able to have a proper spreadsheet embedded in the Google Doc. Would be great, wouldn't it? Absolutely. I suppose you've got the viewer option now, haven't you? But it's still only to view it with a little smart chip, but it's not quite the same, is it? So, anything excited you today, Jason? Anything that's good? I can definitely see that being used. Yes, I'm pretty sure that I read that, Jason. That's a really good question. That I'm pretty sure the admins have to allow you to be able to install those apps into the Google Chat.
You have to enable bots or each individual bot within the chat functionality.
Yeah, and that can be done by sub-organisation as well. So you can allow it for staff and not allow for students. Yeah, I'm going to have a go at Polly. I completely missed Polly. But that sounds great. Good. Any other thoughts? Any other comments from anyone? So the next one is July the 4th, if I've remembered that right. Let me just double check I've got it. Yes, Monday, July the 4th will be the next one, and that will be the last one for the year. I won't do them through the summer. What I might do is towards the end of the summer, I might do a single, sort of towards the end of August-ish, if people are around, I might do here are the big things that have come out over the summer. But often Google will do a big thing of announcing all those. We might also get some things from the Anywhere School tomorrow. And there is one other thing I forgot to mention that we talked about this morning. The transform. Steve, have you got the transformation website to hand that you can stick in the chat?
I'm not sure. I can have a look through the emails that I sent out to you, but I'll have a look again.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So Google have this transformation tool, and it's basically a tool where you go in and you basically ask you a whole series of questions, and you add in information about the school that allows you to track and keep. It's basically like writing a kind of digital strategy plan in effect, and then it's a window of time that opens for about a month where you can go in and you can talk about where you've done and what you've done, and it allows you to then go in and look at what you said last time and update the process. So it's a way of kind of tracking your kind of move towards a more cloud focused kind of infrastructure within your organization, and it's good because it challenges you. Do any of the people do Andy, Dave, or Jason, do you actually use the transformation tool that they supply at all? Have you ever looked at it?
Yeah, we use it, although the survey is no longer necessary. Because the window opened, didn't it, this week, and you no longer have to do the survey to get the insights. You used to have to fill in the survey in order to get the insights from the report. Yeah, which was a little bit onerous because I was the only one who ever filled it in. I sent it to senior leaders on occasion, and they tended not to bother. But getting the report in terms of utilization across the organization is quite good. I had a call with I forgot his name, a guy who's reasonably well embedded in Google from this, because we had a few issues with ours last time, but it all got sorted out. He was very willing to help, so I gave him some feedback into things that I thought might be good to see on there as well, to be able to drill down, because you can see who your level 1 educators, your level 2 educators, your trainers and your innovators are on your domain. And I said it would be good to be able to drill down and you can see the number, you can't see who they are at the moment. All right. So I said it'd be good to be able to drill down and see them. Okay, so these are my currently qualified level 1 educators, for example. So I think we're going to take that back and do a little bit more development on. So I think there's more to come from that. Yeah. Report.
I think it's also that whole thing about regularly focusing on the progress that you're making. I think sometimes, I think certainly the conversations I had with you, Dave and Andy, and even Jason, is that a lot of the time you're just rushing from place to place to get the things done that you want to get done, and you don't ever stop and contemplate. And having a tool that reminds you by popping up every 3 months or so, saying now's the time to have a stop, reflect, look at the successes, look at where else you might need to focus your attention, is a really good thing. And I think it's, my dad always used to say, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. And I think it's that moment of reflection that says, here's where we are, these are the successes that we've had, I now need to focus on that. If there's a moment when you do that every few months, then that's a really good thing for any organization to do. Whether it's an individual like Dave is, who's would like more contributions from a wider team, but it's still that the strength of that reflection means that you've got a refocus and a rethink, which is a good thing. That means that you're not necessarily forever just being reactive. There is a bit more proactive. So I think that's a very important thing. And let me just quickly see if I can find the
Paul, without just sharing a link, Jason and anybody that's on the call that doesn't use it, we'll be sending out an email that's specific to you, because there's a different variation depending whether you're the IT admin, whether you're the curriculum lead, and what access and what you need to ask the team. So I'm Jason, I'm just conscious of R&N potentially. You might not be the IT admin and have access to the admin console, so yours would be different to Andy's or anybody else on the call or anybody else watching as well. So we'll send out an email very soon this week just to follow up. All right.
Yeah. I've actually got the link here. So, so you've already put it in there. You put it in there. Excellent. Good. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So if there are no other questions, then I will say thank you very much for coming along. Do come and join me tomorrow if you're a super admin for the Techie Tuesday updates. We'll be going through a few things there. But if there's nothing else, no other questions from anyone, then I'll say thanks very much. I'll stop the recording and can leave a few minutes early. It's perfect.